And thanks so much for being with us here on Morning Live. And just a reminder, the situation out in KwaZulu-Natal, and just checking in with our reporters, they themselves staying put this morning because of the situation regarding the flooding in KZN. And everybody out there, please be safe. Please take it easy. As soon as our reporters do manage to get out, we will bring you updates. But also, they are continuously gathering information, and we'll try to keep you abreast of developments. Rob Byrne also doing a fantastic job telling you what's happening on the roads. And there you have it, some of the videos that are actually on social media. This is somebody's house, and as you can see, the water just gushing through. It is water, it is mudslides, it's all sorts of flash flooding that you can think of happening in and around Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. So please be safe. Take it easy. And as I say, the only reason why we haven't been able to bring you live reports as yet is because our reporters are just still assessing the safety situation as they head out to cover some of these floods. Okay, with that, let's take you to another story. Now, in terms of sections 59 and 72 of the Constitution, Parliament has a duty to promote public access and meaningful participation in parliamentary processes and activities. A sum of 500 million rand is allocated annually for members of parliament to enable effective constituency work to ensure heightened citizen engagement. Now, this week, Parliament is embarking on a program of reimagining, remodeling and repurposing these parliamentary constituency offices as strategic points for an interaction between the people and Parliament. Speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, joins us now for more on this particular subject. Madam Speaker, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and good morning to the listeners.
Let's perhaps start at explaining what exactly the parliamentary constituency offices are, what purpose they serve, and where precisely they are located.
You know, constituency offices are offices where you have members of parliament sitting there. And in fact, you may as well call them parliament, because this is where, as members of parliament, we interact with people from. This is where we engage with communities about their challenges, but also allow them to have access to information about some of the workings of parliament. This is where we discuss with communities about issues of oversight, issues of public participation during legislative processes, and that is why, in fact, we are here. We have parliamentary offices, constituency offices all over the country. And of course, there are parliamentary constituency offices which are run by all the parties. So each party has a number of MPs, and that MP will have a constituency office dedicated to doing his or her work in that particular community. So in this instance, I am here in Makanda, and I'm here in Makanda because my constituency office is here. And I decided that I will launch this program in this constituency office. This is a very busy constituency office. This is a constituency office in an area which has several high schools. And that is why I decided that this outreach with young people who are still at school should be launched in this area.
So, Ms. Mapisa-Nqakula, when it comes to the public, interacting with Parliament, I remember some years ago, Parliament launched this program of taking Parliament to the people. But when the public wants to interact with Parliament outside of some of the more formal processes, these constituency officers would then be that point. But how does the public go about accessing? Because, as I said, and I specifically asked, how do you go about identifying in your particular constituency where this office is?
Well, really, As a member of parliament, you, in this first instance, are guided by people on the ground, in the constituent, in the communities itself, where it would be most suitable to locate a constituency office. Now, now, the constituency office, which is here, I must say that it was an effort of the community, also the local municipality, because remember, it's important that as you base in that constituency office, that you interact, you share the office in the first instance, which I'm a member of the legislature here. You also interact on a regular basis with councillors in the community, the councillors who are based on the ground here, so that you hear from them also what their challenges are, and you all sit and interact and decide how to resolve some of those challenges. So yes, you are correct. There is a program which takes Parliament to the people, but that program is a program of the NCOP, the National Council of Provinces. This particular program of constituency offices is a program for all. That is both members of the National Assembly and members of the National Council of Provinces. In other words, wherever a community wants to have access to a member of parliament, then the member of the community simply goes to the office to raise whatever issues. But equally, members of parliament have an obligation to design programs in that area, programs which are meant to assist people, to interact with them, both young and old, to hear them out, which is what we were doing yesterday, for instance.
And we often, of course, as the public, Madam Speaker, hear that, Parliament is in recess, we have parliamentarians going to do constituency work, but very often we wonder, because you said you're in Makhanda because that's your constituency office. How do people even know who their parliamentarian is, who serves their constituency office? I know this because it is stated on some of the bios of the parliamentarians. If you go and you read through that, you will see. And you can actually do a search to find out who your parliamentarian is for your constituency. But shouldn't that be information that's more readily available to the public so that people know, I am from Makhanda, if I have an issue, this is the parliamentarian I should get in touch with?
Well, you are correct, but I think over the years, that's exactly what Parliament has tried to achieve. I think more or less all the members who have constituency offices introduce themselves to the community. And of course, it is the responsibility of members of Parliament to design programs which are meant to inform the communities about their presence and what the responsibilities of the member are in that community, and the constituents, and what purposes the constituency office serves to do in the area. So really, and of course in the constituency offices, we also have field workers, we have administrator as well, and the responsibility of the field worker is to gather information about challenges of the people. And then, of course, when you interact with the field worker and the rest of the management of the office, this is how you get your information. So even if you are not around, you are in Cape Town, but you know every day what is happening in your constituency offices, what the challenges are, and you try as much as is possible to find ways of resolving those challenges. If I may make an example, yesterday we had an outreach where we were reaching out to young people from various schools and allowing them, giving them an opportunity to engage with me, engage with other members who were there, to talk about their immediate challenges as young people, as young students. And the amount of knowledge, the amount of information which one received at that meeting is just unbelievable. The issues they were talking about, from poverty, starvation, gender-based violence, toxic masculinity. And it was just unbelievable to even listen to the vocabulary they were using to describe the challenges, bullying at schools and so on. It was, and just lack of recreational facilities. And the fact that poverty and starvation impacts on their studies, also how COVID-19 has impacted negatively on them and their communities. So it was, it was a very inspiring moment, but also a very sad moment when you listen to what young people were saying, and the fact that they were feeling that at times they feel, particularly the boys, that they are not encouraged to express their feelings, and therefore yesterday they felt it was an opportunity for them, as they were representing young people, to really express as well the feelings and the views of young boys and how they are expected to behave in a particular way, show strength and show no emotions when they are confronted by major challenges. And I'm saying that, to me, was an eye-opener. Yes, sometimes you're aware of these things, you read about these things, but when you then have first-hand information engaging with young people, it's just unbelievable some of the things which you hear them say. We have several young people, most of them in grade 11 and grade 12, coming from different backgrounds and different areas of Sarabhatman. It was a good session. In a sense, you can say it was a young people's parliament.
And I want to problematize that slightly, but before I do that, Madam Speaker, just in terms of what is then the responsibility of the parliamentarian once they have engaged, as you have now, at the constituency office, what is the responsibility in terms of taking forward the concerns that have been raised?
Well, the most important thing is not just to listen, but to engage with various stakeholders. Stakeholders will be able to assist to resolve some of the challenges which were raised by the young people. In other words, as I'm here now, I will be expected, for instance, to interact with Minister Motshekga, who is the Minister of Basic Education, who has done a lot of work with young people. I will be expected to engage with Minister of Social Development to raise specific issues relevant, for instance, to particular areas, issues which were raised by young people. There is also the Nelson Mandela Young Parliaments Forum from the Nelson Mandela Foundation, which also expressed the views of young people, represented by a young person, of course. And when you listen, you know for sure that you have a responsibility to take some of these matters immediately, to take them forward. Those which you feel one can resolve immediately, of course, we do that. Of course, for instance, if I may use this, there are issues of infrastructure. One of the young people said, my school was built in 1984. That school is now quite dilapidated, and since then there hasn't been any renovations conducted. Of course, we hear about these things, but it's different when you hear from a young person who comes from that school, from that community, talking about the impact of that dilapidated school on learning and teaching. So the expectation is for us to engage with all government departments, and if possible, bring them here, bring officials of those government departments with the consent of their ministers or MECs to come and sort out and resolve those challenges which young people have. But I should say that one of the things which was quite impressive is that the MEC for Education, MEC Gade, here in the Eastern Cape, sent one of the senior officials, management of his department, to form part of the discussions, and she had the opportunity to address young people and listen to what the young people had to say and actually inform them about what next to do about their challenges. One of the things, of course, which also did come out is the issue of teenage pregnancies, issues of sexuality, and I'm happy that young people could raise those matters with me. You know, when they look at me, they see not a mother, they see a gogo, you know, and for them to be able to talk to the gogo about the challenges of their sexuality and how they are not expected to express freely their sexuality, the difficulties, challenges with parents, challenges with communities, and how easy it is for communities to judge them when they openly express themselves. So I think that it's those kinds of things. In the main, really, the one thing which comes out is that there's a lot of public education, public awareness, which we need to do. We have very good pieces of legislation. We have a very good Bill of Rights. We have a very good constitution. And these children are aware of those things. They read about them every day. But what they need is to know that they have a right to freedom of expression. They have a right to talk to the issues which are contained in the Bill of Rights, to talk about the pieces of legislation which empower them to understand who they are, including their sexuality.
So with all of that said, at the core of this is, of course, the matter of parliamentarian service to the South African public. And you have the budget allocations that are made every year. And one has to ask, you know, how is the spending accounted for? If you look at the breakdown of allocation for MPs, both in the National Assembly and the NCOP, and also, has Parliament done an assessment of the efficacy of what happens in constituency offices? Because it's all good and well to say we're on recess, we're going to do constituency work. The question is it actually done, and how is that assessed?
I can assure you it is done. I may not be able to say at the scale of between 1 and 10 what the efficacy of that is, but I definitely know that all parliamentarians appreciate that it is important to go out and reach out to the people in the constituencies which they serve. Now, of course, there's ongoing assessment which is done by Parliament, but also which is done by the parties which have sent people to Parliament, their representatives to Parliament. Yes, in terms of money allocated to each one of the offices, it is money which is accounted for. It is money which is audited. The accounts are properly audited. Each caucus makes sure that the monies given, allocated to it, are properly audited, and that audit report is an audit report which also forms part of the parliamentary audit processes.
Fair enough. But in terms of accountability, when it comes to the National Assembly or the NCOP, what is the reporting process or feedback regarding matters that are raised by the people at these constituency offices?
Okay, when you're familiar with documents, some of the documents which you find in Parliament, one of the things you will see, for instance, is what is called tablings, reports. And when you go through those reports, you will see that most of the time there will be reports which come from committees which probably were doing oversight during the recess period. Remember, committees do not just do oversight of the executive, as in literally talking to the executive, but they also go to communities where there are challenges. Sometimes when they pick up that there is a problem, let's say here in Makanda, when, for instance, there was a problem of water. So the committee will come to Makanda, and when the committees, after the visit, the committee then reports to Parliament, debates that particular issue in Parliament, so that all members of Parliament can have an opportunity to get a glimpse of the nature of the challenges, but also to discuss those issues and propose a way forward to members of the executive. So there is accountability. Members of Parliament do not just visit, go out during the constituency period and idle around. No. In fact, you may also be aware that Mondays are constituency days. So in any given week, whether it is during parliamentary session or not, but it is expected that on a Monday, a member of Parliament will be in his or her constituency doing some work, and there's accountability for that. There is proper monitoring and evaluation of the work being done by members of Parliament.
And you know, just as a challenge, what I'm going to do, Madam Speaker, because I know who my parliamentary representative is, I'm going to follow this as of Monday. And maybe we can compare notes just to see what happens. And then I'll put it through to some of my colleagues as well in other areas, just to check in terms of the work that is done and the accountability that ensues from there. But we'll park it there for this morning. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
It shouldn't be just about checking. It should be about also, if you're not sure you're getting the right answer, contact Parliament. Ask from Parliament who the representative of that area is, and then, of course, then we can provide you with the numbers and you interact with the member of Parliament.
And that was my starting point, Madam Speaker, if you remember. I said it shouldn't be something that you should go and search for. People should know right off the bat who their parliamentary representatives are. But I doubt, if we were to open the lines right now, I am certain that the majority of people do not know who their parliamentary representative is. I am certain, I say this without fear of contradiction, most of the people will not know where the constituency office is in their constituency. But, you know, as Parliament, you are getting these reports, and obviously you wouldn't know how truthful they are, which is why I don't want to argue on the basis of, hearsay. Hence, I'm saying, starting Monday, I'm going to check at my constituency office so that I can empirically argue with you about what actually goes on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sakina, but also help us to,
Absolutely.
I don't know which area you live in, and once you find out who the member of Parliament is, please do not hesitate to contact and have an engagement with the member of Parliament.
Absolutely.
That area. Thank you very much, Sakina.
Thank you so much. And that was the Speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, discussing the Parliamentary Constituency Offices, which are, of course, a constitutional imperative to ensure effective engagement and interaction between parliamentarians and citizens. And